What inspired you to start Jones Valley Urban Farm?
I think essentially growing up in Birmingham and coming downtown when I was a kid, seeing just vast tracts of vacant land, seeing all these buildings that were empty, seeing all this um, unrealized potential, um, just put a little seed in my brain as a young kid and as a high schooler. Um, Also, that caused me to want to leave Birmingham after high school. Went to college on the West Coast. Ended up taking a class in urban agriculture at the University of Oregon, and sitting in class as a young, impressionable 19-year-old thinking, wow, here's a professor talking about how you can turn all those liabilities into assets. And the wheels just started spinning in terms of thinking about Birmingham, thinking about this post-industrial city and what it's going to become. Um, so 10 years later, after traveling around the world, seeing some of the places that my professor had talked about in the urban agriculture class, just finally decided it was time to give it a shot and move back to Birmingham and try to see if we could actually create something beautiful and productive out of all the wasted space in the city.
And you didn't start out here in downtown in Center City.
Correct.
You were up in
South
Southside.
Yep, my partner Paige Allison and I moved back to Birmingham and basically just started asking everybody that we knew if there was any vacant land anywhere in the city that we could get access to. And we met a CPA who was going to help us incorporate our nonprofit. And right in the middle of the meeting, as we were telling the CPA what we wanted to do, he looks out the window across the street from his office and says, "Well, I own that vacant piece of land. I don't know if that would be a useful piece." And we both looked at each other and we're like, perfect. And literally that afternoon we went out there and started preparing the site. So that was back in the spring of 2002. And we just got a rototiller, got some compost, and got seeds and started farming. One of the issues that I've had with Birmingham since growing up here was that there weren't enough ways to bring good people together and celebrate the things that were happening. So what we basically created at Jones Valley Farm, in addition to a productive urban farm that grows food and a space for education programming and all of the other interesting aspects of the farm, we've created a platform where people can gather physically, but also gather intellectually and gather spiritually to come and celebrate our city, celebrate the fact that right here in downtown we can turn something that was abandoned and vacant for decades and celebrate the fact that it's now something that's beautiful and productive, and that we've got something that's as good as anything else in the world. One issue I think Birmingham has is a sort of a self-defeating perception of itself, that we're the magic city, we're the city of perpetual possibility, I think is the phrase that's been used. But that's not really that wonderful when you think about it's never been realized. So here we have this 3.5 acre farm that's as great, in my opinion, as any urban farm in the world. And we've gotten incredible accolades from all over the world about this beautiful, productive, successful farm right here in the middle of the city. So it's an opportunity for Birmingham to celebrate itself, and for Birmingham to celebrate that despite all of the health issues that we have, despite all of the social and racial issues that we've got something that's as good as anything else in the world.
What are some of the programs that you do?
We have programs specifically targeting kids that try to increase access to fresh, healthy food and education about why that fresh, healthy food is important. Our mainstay program is called Seed to Plate. It's a 3-part gardening, cooking, nutrition, education program. Elementary school kids come out to the farm, get out into the field, help us plant seeds, help us harvest whatever's fresh, and then they walk across the street to the YMCA Youth Center, where we've got a kitchen that we can use to prepare that healthy food into something that's delicious to eat. So really in a short field trip, the students go from putting a seed in the ground to actually eating that food. That's the core of what Jones Valley Farm does. We also offer a couple of other programs. We developed a training program for cafeteria workers so that they can understand how to prepare fresh, healthy food and serve it in an institutional setting. We have a community garden training program called Growing Together that teaches other communities how to do what we've done, how to develop vacant land into productive urban agriculture space or into community garden space. Biggest success at Jones Valley Farm, outside of the miracle that we've survived for 10 years, I think pulling various groups together through the community that wouldn't normally be together have sort of been magnetically pulled to Jones Valley Farm, and the beginnings of a food movement has started in Birmingham. Really just having a centralized physical location where people can come to the farm, see what local food looks like, see what an urban farm looks like, see what a community garden looks like, see what happens when you bring kids out to a setting like that, see the changes that occur, come to festivals that are on the site, get energized, get excited, realize that their passion is not alone, that they share a passion with so many other people. It's been a tremendously successful part of our organization. But even beyond the individuals, the organizations that we've been able to begin partnering with, when you look across the board from the United Way to the Health Department, the Jefferson County Department of Health, UAB's various departments, the Community Foundation of Greater Birmingham, the various grassroots organizations that are in town that have all been magnetized by the work that we've done. I think it's probably the single biggest achievement that we've had in the decade that we've been working in Birmingham. I don't know that without that sort of physical location that those organizations would have realized their commonality and had sort of a common rallying point to start the work that's unfolding right now. And really, I think Jones Southern Farm has spent the last decade just building a basic foundation, and the next decade is going to be really the building of a different food system here in Birmingham. So I'd say that would be, outside of the thousands of pounds of produce that we've been able to grow and feed the community and the education programs that hopefully are impacting our kids and making them healthier, I think that community magnetizing component is probably the single biggest thing. We do have some significant challenges, I think, financially, trying to understand how to create an organization that has long-term economic sustainability is first and foremost. We've sort of survived on miracles, and the board of directors has gotten tired of me saying that and have been energized with the challenge of really looking at structurally how do we create an organization that clearly has income revenue for 10 years down the road and an organizational structure that makes sense. But outside of that specific component, I'd say keeping the enthusiasm and channeling the enthusiasm and bringing more people on board is the single biggest challenge. Birmingham has just been classically and ongoingly segregated in terms of what groups work with each other and who comes on board. I think bringing the faith-based communities in Birmingham into the fold of a food movement, bringing the people that are most impacted by poor food access on board and having their voice heard clearly in terms of what do they want their communities to look like, what do they want their food systems to look like in their own communities, as opposed to having somebody like myself, the executive director of Jones Valley, sort of dictating what a community's food access is going to look like. I think that every community should have a community garden. I think every single community should have a farmer's market. But that's my perspective, and certainly for this movement and for Jones Southern Farm to really succeed down the road, it's going to be people in communities having a voice and having that voice acted on, so that what they want and what they envision for their kids actually turns into a reality. And it's a tall order, and I mean, unfortunately, I don't see a whole lot of good precedents in Birmingham for that happening in other places. Hopefully, my recognition that that's a major issue will bring about some changes and provide a better voice to the communities that aren't being heard right now.
What's next for you?
I have resigned as the executive director of Jones Valley. My 10 years here has been unbelievable, incredibly rewarding, and just a fascinating journey. But I think my tendency is to focus on creation as opposed to stabilization. I think Jones Southern Farm really needs a stabilizing force. So we're looking for a new executive director that will provide that to the organization. Fortunately, there's incredible opportunities across the country right now to develop new urban farms and develop new community food systems. There's just every day I get emails about cities creating opportunities for individuals to access the vacant land that's in the cities. The technical support for that's not really present. There's not a wealth of urban agriculture supporting agencies, and so what I'm hoping to do is develop a consulting business that could get hired by various cities, maybe even this city, to help develop that untapped potential, and really provide opportunities for communities to voice what they want and try to help them actualize that voice. I'm hoping to continue to write. I have a book coming out this fall called Breaking Through Concrete. It's a tour of urban agriculture in America in the 21st century. It's going to be published by the University of California Press, and I'm hoping to go on a book tour that'll support that book, and then hopefully write a second book that delves into the subject matter a little bit deeper, so I'll have hopefully some time to really jump into that. The first book was written on Sunday morning over the last year, and I'm envisioning what would happen if I had more than a Sunday morning to work on a book, and I think some pretty exciting things could happen. So look for the next book coming out soon.
How do you see the community garden movement developing in Birmingham?
We've got an amazing map on our website that shows the 25 or 30 community gardens that have been developed in the last 10 years, most of which have either directly worked with Jones Valley Wood Farm or had some affiliation with our farm. The potential, though, is just tremendous. In New York City, there's 350 community gardens. In Europe, most European cities have community gardens in every single community in the city. So I think the next step really is to get the knowledge that that's a potential into the communities. One of my visions would be that neighborhood associations, for instance, would have some branch that if people in their community were interested, that they could provide technical support, access to land, and ongoing support to make sure that those gardens are successful. But really, I think the primary key is that kids growing up in Birmingham, coming through programs like Jones Valley Farm Seed to Plate program, or utilizing their school gardens, would be the ones that are asking for that kind of thing. And that's where I think the real key comes in, is that the groundswell of interest and support needs to come from kids. And so hopefully, as a result of the work that we've been doing, kids know that, hey, every community should have a community garden. Why doesn't my community have a community garden? That's when some really fantastic things are going to happen, when the kids start asking their parents, why isn't that vacant piece of land turned into a community garden? Wouldn't it be awesome if we could come home and go harvest our own vegetables right in our backyard? So that kind of empowerment is what I envision unfolding hopefully in the next couple of years in Birmingham. The potential is endless. The need is tremendous, but the resources out there are also pretty tremendous. So if we can just put all of those pieces together, I think we can have a pretty fantastic future.
Anything else I'm forgetting to ask?
Love my wife. Thanks, Andrea. Been amazing.